Hello everyone, it is Skull Queen and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be building a dystopian skyline and I am so excited because as you can see, this is going to be one of the biggest skylines I think anyone has ever made. We have the terraforming going all the way from the right side of the map all the way over here to right before Red's Beach. So we're going to be filling this entire place with skyline items, and I will be speeding up the footage and popping back in once it's time to talk, but I kind of want to just let this play out as much as possible. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. To begin, I started with a cliff that was 4 tiles wide, and before I really get into the details, I just want to be straight up and honest. This build is entirely inspired by Horrible Gaming here on YouTube. She has amazing city builds, and she also has a skyline video which I was referencing very often. So I'm going to link her channel as well as the specific video that I was referencing down below, so be sure to check that out and show her some support. But you can see that the main items we're going to be using in this build are servers, phone boxes, these neon diner signs, and I also wanted to make this kind of my own since this is a dystopian skyline and not 100% realistic. I decided to add some anatomical models, a bunch of these stage flame machines, some of the construction items that have been added since the 2.0 update, and you'll see as I go, I just build and layer item by item, and it really is just about layering a bunch of these items to make it look like different tiers of buildings. So again, I'm gonna let this play out, but please enjoy as I'm placing these items around. It was really fun to play around with the different heights and items to use on top of these vending machines and servers, and at first it does look kind of weird and it doesn't seem like it's really gonna work, but I promise just keep layering, and once you do have the vantage point a little bit further away from the skyline, it really all just comes to life. So it's all about patience and layering, and I hope you guys enjoy the process. You can see that I start adding another tier of cliffs as I'm moving down the skyline, and I really just did this to fill in where the second tier cliff ended, so it's easier to build the second tier first and then just kind of fill in the third tier where there's room. That's what I found anyway, and so this is what I'm doing with more of the neon diner signs. Also, these wide display stands are really fun for displaying these rescue mannequins within them, so I did that quite a few times throughout the skyline as well. And I really enjoyed sprinkling these retro transportation stops throughout the build also, because it does look like a building site and it breaks up the monotony of all of the servers and phone boxes. So I used quite a few of those in varying colors just to make it look like there's a bunch of other buildings out in the skyline, because typically with the city skyline, not every single building looks identical. So really any item can work here. You can see that I placed a tank, I have some oil barrels sprinkled throughout, a bunch of these OK motor signs. Anything that you think a city might include is what you can have in a skyline. So I took Horrible Gaming's idea and I kind of made it my own a little bit, but again, I would have not had any of the inspiration to do this without her video. So she's amazing. Thank you, Horrible Gaming. And we're going to continue to sprinkle more of these items all throughout until we get to the very end. I just want to pop in and say my apologies for all of the transitions in this video. It was filmed over the course of probably 5 or 6 days, and I tried to keep the time between 4 and 5 a.m. so it wouldn't get too light outside. So you'll see that it starts getting a little bit lighter, and then once I get to the next day, like right here, it gets a little bit dark again. So you'll see that happen a few times. Again, my apologies. I'm just trying to make a skyline at dusk, okay? right, so we finally got that second tier done. Now I just added a third tier where there was any room left, and we're just filling that in to add some more height and dimension to the skyline. And then we will begin with the vantage point and the rest of this build. Yay, so now that we have all of the skyline items placed, you'll see that I go back down here to the bottom and I start planting some trees and bushes all along the edge here. And I just decided to alternate between the cedar and normal saplings just for my own pleasure, but you can of course do any kind of trees that you would like. And it's best to stunt them on day 3 of growth when they're under the medium size. So once they were at that stage, I went ahead and planted apples in between so that it would stunt their growth. And then I went back and lined the front with some bushes, and it might look like that I'm trying to place them in a specific order, but I'm not. I'm just trying to stagger them so that there's not a lot of the same kind next to each other. But yes, I just lined this whole entire edge with bushes, and then I will be back once I discuss the next step. Once all of the bushes were placed, I decided I wanted to have a highway that looked like it was entering as well as exiting the skyline. So I began placing that down, and I did end up having to move this median up a few spaces just because I didn't know what to put behind it against the skyline. So of course, as any build goes, there's always some trial and error and some moving things around. So you're gonna see that, but I do love the end result. And this highway design was actually inspired by Horrible Gaming as well. She is so good at making these roads look realistic. I would have never even thought of this median idea, but the end result looks amazing and more realistic than I would have expected. So love that, and you can just see that I'm placing that around. Once the pathing is done, I will pop back in and discuss some of the decorations. Okay, the sidewalks and roads are placed. Now I wanted to have a road that was going parallel to the skyline and perpendicular to this little highway right here. So I began terraforming this all the way down the length of the skyline, and this needed to be 5 wide because with the street designs and the sidewalks on the edges, it does come out to 5 tiles. So I began terraforming all the way down 5 wide, and I began placing the road custom designs right over it. So once that is done as well, I will pop back in, and the fun is about to begin, guys. I promise, just please stick in there with me. Now, on either side of the highway, you can see that I used a cave to represent a tunnel for the cars to travel in and out of, and I wanted to decorate this road by having a few vehicles coming in and out, as well as a broken down vehicle right in the middle of this median. Just because if it is a zombie dystopia, it has to be a little bit chaotic, and I'm sure there's going to be some people pulled over, getting eaten alive, so I just wanted to reflect that. Some curved streetlights here just to make it look a little bit more realistic, and then of course we needed some more stage flame machines and rescue mannequins because this is a zombie dystopia after all, and it has to be a little bit chaotic. So that is all being placed here, and then I do end up lining both of the sides with fencing, so you'll see that in a little bit. But first I began terraforming the water that's going to be between the road and the skyline itself. As you can see, my initial plan was to have some yachts in the distance to make it look like, of course, there's some people on the ocean, but I just could not get it to look real. This water custom code that I downloaded to put underneath just was not looking right. I could still see the cliff and I just hated it. So I scrapped the whole yacht idea and I just filled in all of the edges with water. Like I mentioned earlier, I do end up lining both of these sides with fencing, so that's what I'm doing here. And I really didn't want it to match too much. I just kind of used whatever was in my inventory, so you can see that I have some of the rusted color, silver, and black that was being used. And I just think that adds to the overall realistic and overgrown vibe that I'm going for. Once the fencing was placed on both sides, we continue with our waterscaping, and I almost forgot to put this little rescue mannequin back, so I had to rearrange the decorations again, and then we can begin with the rest of this skyline. Okay, so waterscaping is done. As you can see, I added an incline right here at the edge of this road, and then I began lining the entire top and bottom with the safety railing. Let me tell you guys, it took me over an hour to collect all of these and to customize them all in black, so I hope you appreciate the dedication. But once it's finally lined, I started decorating the road with a few vehicles, as well as some little items that make it look nice and dystopian. This is probably my favorite part because I love that we can customize most of these vehicles with some custom codes. So I included some of my zombie codes, and then of course we need rescue mannequins being run over everywhere, because that's apparently what happens in a zombie dystopia, is that you just get run over. But anyways, we're placing some more items, and at the end I do end up crafting some more of the leaf campfires and sprinkling those around as well. I really do think that those add a lot of dimension, as well as these stage flame machines. I love this item. It's probably going to be one of the most used items on this entire island, and of course these wheat fields as well being filled in into the road. But yeah, I just love all of the dystopian construction items panels that we now have. It just goes with this theme perfectly, and I just had so much fun picking out the items to use in this build, and really anything went. I could use construction items, flaming items, vehicles, pretty much anything to do with a city, and it just worked. So love that. All right, everybody, it is time for the final walkthrough, and I hope you're ready because I am just so proud of this entire skyline. To be honest, I think I might have gone a little bit too big with it. It's just ridiculously long, but it took up a lot of island space, and in the end, I love it. So you can see that this canal slash skyline just continues on and on. Here we have the little highway overpass that looks like it's going under a tunnel and into the skyline itself. So I'm really proud of this area, and again, thanks to Horrible Gaming because I do not have the brain power to come up with stuff like this. As we continue on, I just love how in the distance you can see the sirens and the flame machines mixed in with the servers and the "we're open" signs. It really does look like a skyline to me, and I absolutely love it. Okay, everyone, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you're still here, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!